So, I've been waiting to talk about this movie since I first saw it a year ago. And let me start by saying that I will 100% admit that I did watch this because I was in my Colin Farrell era. But thank goodness I did because this has become one of my favorite films and it's so good. So, I'm not going to say that this is like an analysis or a breakdown. This is literally just going to be me ranting about this movie. So, enjoy the ride. So, here's the gist of After Yang. Jake and his wife Kyra buy this cultural android named Yang in order to immerse their daughter Mika further into her Chinese heritage. After a family dance session, Yang malfunctions and Jake is tasked with finding a repairman, and in the process, he realizes that he's been far too absent from his family's life. So, first and foremost, the directing and cinematography in this movie are absolutely divine. They're so good. The use of natural lighting in almost every scene, the use of nature, the use of earth tones, the sharp calmness of everything, absolutely gorgeous. I think the first thing that really stuck out to me with this movie was the fact that it's set in the future with robots and AI and all that, but instead of going that dark dystopian route, it was the complete opposite. It's no utopia, obviously, but the idea of a future where robots are used for purposes as simple as integrating a child into their culture after being removed from it, and not like world domination or something, is so cool to me. While this movie is an adaptation of a short story by Alexander Weinstein, the way that it was brought to screen is so well done. I truly can't get over the use of wood and greenery to immerse the viewer into this futuristic world that has humans and bots living together in peace. Genius, truly. I also really like the consistent use of Asian, specifically Chinese and Japanese clothing and culture throughout the film, as it added an extra layer that aided the overall feel of the movie and the themes that were pursued. Now, let's talk about the core of the film, the family. I don't think we ever got a last name for them, but the family dynamic in this movie is so good. I'm going to talk about them later, but like Colin Farrell's Jake and Jodie Smith-Turner's Kyra were such a beautiful couple, and I need them to do another movie right now, today. So the hesitant tenderness that they have for one another was so tangible. There's a moment at the beginning of the film where they're getting into their dance suits, and Jake goes to cup the back of Kyra's head, but at the very last second, he drops his hand. They're standing in one another's space, but neither could really bring themselves to touch, and it truly sets the scene for the state of their relationship. Justin H. Min as Yang was a brilliant choice. When you think about an actor playing a robot, you think monotone voice, face devoid of emotion, whirring noises as they walk, but Min completely subverted that. He used this tranquil, almost hypnotic tone that had me entranced while still emoting and showing every one of Yang's intentions through his movements. He hit a perfect medium of being as close to human as you can get without actually being one. For me, that was highlighted in both the tea scene, as you'll see here.
Well, maybe we can do it together. Yes, that would be nice.
And the butterfly scene.
For the caterpillar, yes.
But do you believe it's true for all things?
I don't know. I'm not programmed to believe in that way. What about you?
Each of those scenes showcase his abilities to the fullest, which is wild because of how subdued his character had to be in order to be believable. Now, last but not least, Malaya Emma Chandrawijaya as Little Mika, the catalyst for this whole movie. And when I tell you this little girl can act, I mean it. And not only that, she's so adorable. I think that a film like this could only really be anchored by the emotions of a child like Mika in order to truly get through to the audience. Her connection to Yang was unlike anyone else's. I mean, he literally raised her. And that's not to diminish Jake or Kyra, but it is to say that they were entirely too reliant on Yang to raise a child that they adopted. And as a result, Mika became dependent on Yang to provide her with the affection and the comfort that her parents didn't give her. For example, there's this scene where Jake is going through Yang's memories and Mika comes in to get water, and Jake's like,
Is this something you do? You get yourself water in the middle of the night.
and Mika's like,
Kaka usually comes with me.
Is that right?
her innocence and genuine naivete paired with Jake's realization that Yang took the responsibilities that they, her parents, were supposed to have, makes for such a great scene. And I know for some people it's like, well, Yang just took on the role of an older sibling, which is not completely accurate. And to me, that was the point. After Yang died, it was the turning point for both Kyra and Jake, but Jake more so than Kyra. They both saw that it wasn't really Yang's responsibility to do more than he was supposed to, and that he was supposed to just immerse Mika into her culture more. So when he did die, there was a silent understanding that their entire family dynamic was going to shift, and shift it did. Jake was clearly less connected to Mika than anyone else in the house, and the progression from him being there to him being there is quite literally one of my favorite things about this movie, and I'm so excited to talk about it. So we start off by seeing Jake basically never interact with Mika unless Kyra tells him to. And you immediately get this impression that this man has no idea what he's doing. Kyra works all hours of the day and then comes home and is the primary caretaker for Mika because Jake just isn't. He's in the house, but he's not. He's a dad, but is he really? And when Yang dies, the water scene happens, and it's monumental. I mean, shoot, we never even hear him call her any term of endearment until over halfway in the movie. And I remember thinking, why have I not heard him call her anything other than Mika? Like, nothing else, even while she was crying over her dead brother. Fast forward, and there's this moment that was just so sweet and really encapsulated the whole feel of the film. So Mika and Jake are visiting this museum that's offering to save Yang's memories and display them for purposes of research and preservation. And Mika's asleep in Jake's arms as they stroll through this dimly lit exhibit that their family member might be a part of. It's one of the most touching, most tender, most understated moments that I've ever seen in a movie that just really pulled at my heartstrings. The idea that the demise of Yang, this entity that had one task in life, was a catalyst for Jake truly connecting with his daughter was just heart-wrenching. I don't know, there's something that was so otherworldly about seeing Mika and her little face squished against her dad's shoulder, and seeing Jake hold his daughter to his chest as he ponders Yang's existence. Like, I didn't cry the first time I watched it, but after sitting with it for a minute, that scene just kept coming up, and I shed a few tears. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, I have been ranting, and I did warn you about that, but now for the last thing, the dynamic between Kyra and Jake. Firstly, beautiful couple, stunning. Anyways, there's an obvious disconnect between the two at the start of the movie, and you'd think that Yang's death would immediately alter their relationship in a major way, but it really doesn't. Jake runs a tea shop, and Kyra's a businesswoman who works all hours of the day, and that alone should kind of tell you enough. Kyra seems as though she's in a permanent state of trying to repair all the cracks in her life, whether it be with her job or her daughter, but in the process of doing that, she shuts Jake out completely. Jake seems as though he's perpetually lost in almost every aspect of life. He has his tea, but he doesn't connect with it in the way that he feels he should. He has his wife, but he doesn't know how to reach out to her. And he has his daughter, but he doesn't know how to fill the gap that Yang left. They're at a crossroads. There's a lot to say about them, but I'll mention 3 scenes in particular. The first of which is the ramen scene. Jake is taking a break from finding a repairman for Yang and stops to get some ramen when Kyra calls for an update. He admittedly looks as though he's doing nothing, which Kyra points out, and it leads to a slight rise in tension before Kyra diffuses it by getting her own bowl of ramen. It's a small thing, really, but it shows that Kyra's constantly the one trying to keep them together. A little later, when Kyra's overwhelmed with everything, Yang's still broken, Mika's getting into fights, work is work, Jake still hasn't found a repairman, she goes to leave for a late shift and Jake stops her. He asks her if she's okay, if they're okay, and she just looks at him. Jake's shirtless and only wearing a towel as he speaks to her, and with any other couple, you'd think that that's something that they'd notice or mention or banter or flirt about. Nothing. Kyra's exhausted. She doesn't have it in her to compliment her husband. She doesn't have it in her to lie to him and say that everything's great, so she leaves. And it's a wonderfully executed scene. I think it's when Jake finally understands that she can't be the one to constantly reach out and fix everything. It's up to him now. He needs to take some of that weight off of her shoulders and place it onto his own. So that leads me to the last scene that I want to mention. The couch scene. I kid you not. I literally want to scream and cry and slide down a wall and vomit every time I think about this scene. So everything's come to a head. Kyra and Jake have come to a mutual understanding that Yang's memories shouldn't be displayed at the museum. It's late at night, Mika's asleep, the living room is this soft, dewy space that encapsulates the audience. Kyra has this look on her face that shows that she's very clearly expecting this conversation to end the same way it started, without feeling distant. But Jake realizes that he needs to be the one to reach out. He needs to be the one to put in the effort this time around and take some of that weight off of his wife's shoulders. And when I tell you that what happens after is one of the most beautiful, tender, well done scenes in the whole movie. I was already talking about the beauty of the couple, but the beauty of their performances in this scene literally has not left my mind since I first watched the movie. It's just, the tenderness of their love is so prominent in how they interact with each other, and the actors are so good in their face. I was thrown up. I was crying, for real. But sorry, that was really dramatic. But yeah, earlier I mentioned a little detail about Jake going to cup Kyra's head, but he stopped before he made contact with her, and I did that to juxtapose it to this scene. Here he kisses her hands, he pulls her into him, and he cups her head, and he adores her. And like I said, the acting, I was fighting tears. Pure bliss and contentment. Love it. Like the little smile that he has at the end of the scene. I was losing it a bit. But yes, I did tell y'all this was going to be a rant. I did tell y'all this was going to be just kind of a mindless ramble. I'm sorry. I had to get this off of my chest. I've watched this movie, I think, 4 times since I first saw it last year. And I'm going to watch it 4 more times. So yes, I love it so much. If you like a movie that's just atmospheric and calming and cerebral, this is for you. Like, I'm sure you would eat it up. So yes, I don't have anything else to say. Thank you for watching. I hope you gained something for this. I hope you got something out of this other than just me mindlessly speaking. But thank you for watching, and I hope to see you guys in the next go round. Bye.